Welcome back, everyone, to the Real Science Exchange. We're back here with our next session. Once again, we have Dr. Turner Swartz from Michigan State University, and my co-host today is Marcos Zanobi. Marcos, didn't have a chance last time to talk to you a little bit, but tell us a little more about what you're doing for Balchem there in South America and what some of the key activities you're working on.
Okay. Basically, what I'm doing is technical support for our clients in Mexico, Chile, Peru, and Argentina. Basically, troubleshooting problem in transition cows, and we try to be a source of information for them. So that's what we focus.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Marcos. And Turner, this time we're reviewing an oral presentation that you did. The title was Effects of Dietary Rumen-Protected Choline Supplementation During an Intramammary Lipopolysaccharide Challenge in Periparturient Dairy Cattle. Another long one.
Yeah, got to get all the words in.
Very well. Sometimes I wonder after these titles if you really need to write a paper. Sorry, I shouldn't be making fun of these PhD guys. Anyway, tell us a little bit about the paper and how did you conceive of this?
Yeah, so there's quite a bit of research out there to show that if you supplement choline during that transition period, you can improve milk production. And we kind of speculated or hypothesized that one of the reasons why choline supplementation was increasing milk yield was due to reducing inflammation. So we were trying to look at how choline could improve health. So we induced inflammation using an intramammary lipopolysaccharide challenge, which would mimic an E. coli infection. It's similar to an E. coli mastitis, but it's not a live challenge. It's just a LPS challenge. So we were inducing inflammation and measuring responses to that, hoping that choline would attenuate inflammation and improve milk yield responses.
Yeah. I've often wondered with these LPS challenges, how different is that from a pathogen infection? How would that present itself differently?
So there's definitely some differences there. The pathogen E. coli is quite a difficult challenge to do. And so LPS is more of a short-term response. Cows get sick for about a day, but then they recover. And because we were doing this challenging early lactation cows, we didn't want to crash them too much. So we chose the LPS over the E. coli. The LPS challenges are a really nice model that is very consistent to replicate to induce inflammation. So it gives us a nice standard model for inducing inflammation. We'll see some differences in responses between cows, but they're pretty similar.
Very well.
So could you tell us a little bit more about the result that you...
Sure. So we supplemented choline at 2 different doses, 30 grams or 45 grams per day, or we had our control group throughout the transition period, starting about 3 weeks prior to 3 weeks after calving. We saw about a 3.5 kilogram increase in milk yield through the first 16 days of lactation. On day 17, we did the LPS challenge, so this now goes from 3 treatment groups into 6 because we had unchallenged cows and challenged cows within each treatment group. We didn't quite see, we had a statistical trend during the challenge. We didn't quite see an increase in milk yield response, but when we got to that carryover effect, so 22 through 84 days in milk, we still saw that choline increased milk yield by about 3 kilograms per cow per day through that time period. And we also saw that the LPS was reducing milk yield all the way through 84 days in milk.
What was the p-value on that milk production?
It was pretty low. I don't remember the exact p-value, but it was highly significant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the audience, what you mean with carryover? So the audience can have a better picture of that.
Yeah, so we stopped supplementing choline at 21 days postpartum. So when I mean carryover is the effect that's carrying over into the rest of lactation when we're no longer supplementing choline.
The good thing is that we are repeating this result, or you are repeating these results, right? Florida already showed the carryover effect, so which is pretty profound. I mean, really nice result for the nutrients. So that's I'm happy for that. So another good thing, do you remember how much milk you lose by doing this LPS challenge, and what are the implications maybe for the producers?
Sure. So the LPS challenge, on the day of challenge, you not quite cut milk production in half or close to half. In the days that carry over, it's more like a 2-3 kilogram loss per cow per day through the rest of 84 days in milk. So it's got a nice long carryover effect, probably because you're killing some of the mammary epithelial cells likely.
Does this have a long-term effect on the cows, the LPS challenge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the choline does too. In fact, the choline response was larger than the LPS response. The choline was increasing 3 kilograms per cow per day, whereas the LPS was reducing by 2 kilograms.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
Interesting.
So what about dry matter intake, feed efficiency? Because it's really
Sure.
important these times, right? So
yeah, so we measured dry matter intake through the first 21 days postpartum. We did not see a treatment effect on dry matter intake. We also did not see any treatment effects on body condition score or on NEFA, non-esterified fatty acid concentrations. And for me, that all kind of says these cows were producing more milk, but they weren't necessarily doing it off the backs of their own bodies, right? They were more efficient, converting feed more efficiently into milk without exacerbating negative energy balance.
well, the next logical question will be, do you have any hypothesis for the mode of action?
I don't necessarily have any. It could be related to methylation. It could be related to mitochondrial function, improving the ability to oxidize fat, produce energy. But I don't necessarily have a direct mechanism. I think there's lots of areas where you could explore. That's one thing that's kind of interesting about choline is there's so many different ways you can go with this product.
Right. I was going to ask a follow-up question related to, so obviously we've got some more research to do. Understand you're graduating, be moving on. Do you have someone that you're passing the baton to?
Well, Barry's lab is always growing, so I don't know if I'm passing the baton on to anybody, but his lab is constantly growing, so I'm sure there will be other people to pick up the nutritional immunology work and continue working in that area.
Outstanding. Can you talk just a little bit in closing about what you see as some of the practical implications of the research and the findings from this research?
Yeah, so certainly choline can enhance milk production, improve feed efficiency, so that's definitely a practical application for dairy farmers. I think it's important to remember that it's not just increasing milk yield when you're supplementing it, but it's increasing milk yield beyond that. So from a feed cost standpoint, that's quite beneficial, right? Because you're only feeding it for 6 weeks, but you're still seeing a milk yield response that carries well beyond that.
Can you tell what was the average milk production for these cows? Rough. I mean,
I don't remember exactly, but they would have peaked out probably close to 50 kilograms per cow per day.
Yep.
So I'd have to look at the
high
data.
producing dairy
Yes,
cows.
they were high-producing multi-paris cows.
Yeah, but that's a great question, Marcos. You know, early on when choline first entered the market, people were using it as, to help with transition cows, cows that had problems or fat cows or fatty liver. And I think we're finding that choline is, in fact, not just a problem cow nutrient. Can you speak to that, or what did you see related to cows that had problems, didn't have problems, low-producing cows versus high-producing cows?
Yeah, so we looked for interactions like that. We tested treatment by body condition score interactions to kind of figure out, were those fat cows that were at more risk for disease, were they benefiting from the choline more so than a cow that wasn't fat? And that was never significant. In fact, there was never any indication that the choline was only working in certain cows. It seemed to be benefiting all cows.
Similar result in Florida, right?
That's what you saw in Florida as well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Great.
Great.
Turner, thanks again for joining us here at the ADSA at the Real Science Exchange, where it's always happy hour and you're always among friends.
We'd love to hear your comments or ideas for topics and guests. So please reach out via email to anh.marketing@balchem.com with any suggestions, and we'll work hard to add them to the schedule. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating on your way out. You can request your Real Science Exchange t-shirt in just a few easy steps. Just like or subscribe to the Real Science Exchange and send us a screenshot along with your address and t-shirt size to anh.marketing@balchem.com. Balchem's Real Science Lecture Series of webinars continues with ruminant-focused topics on the first Tuesday of every month, monogastric-focused topics on the second Tuesday of each month, and quarterly topics for the companion animal segment. Visit balchem.com/realscience to see the latest schedule and to register for upcoming webinars.